Hi everyone, I'm Allie with Potomac Beads. Please join me in making the Athens Bracelet. We're going to be using Eva beads in an unusual way to catch in the beautiful bezeled chaton to create these nice pillars. If you need any of the materials for this bracelet, they're listed at the beginning. Gather them up and join me in making this great design. So to begin the bracelet design, I actually already have on my threaded needle a wire guard or wire protector, and I have 2 needles. I'm using size 10 needles in 0.006 wildfire beading thread in the green color. And I have on my wire guard with my clasp sitting in it. I'll come back through as we come back down the design and actually reinforce. But from here, I want to put on an a 15 on each needle, and then an 11 on each needle. I have the 15 O's in that light bronze color, and then the 15 O's in the Duracoat Opaque Cactus. Letting those drop down, you want to make sure that your thread stays in the actual wire guard. From here then, we're going to go in and actually get ready to add in our crystal and our Eva beads. The Eva beads are going to sit facing towards one another with the crystals sitting right along in the center. They're going to fit perfectly in the center, and we're going to add them into the design from the base to the actual Eva bead itself. I am going to add 2 more 11s with both the right and the left needle to get me set up to add my first of my Eva beads. From here, we're going to get ready to put on our first of our actual crystals. So I have my Eva beads set up just so you can see it. And when you look at the bezel chatons, they actually have multiple holes along the back. We're going to be going through one of the holes, basically almost like a Monty, from one corner. And then we're going to go through the other hole again on the other diagonal quarter. They also have holes that you can use them on the straight edge. We're not going to be doing that, going straight through. We're going in on the corners. So we're going to put on our first of our Eva bead with our right needle, going from the pointed side in towards the open side. Pick up our first Monty through that bottom hole of the actual, or I'm sorry, I said Monty, but the bezel chaton, and I have that in the chili color. And then I'm going to go through my next of my Eva beads. I'm going to let that all drop down next to the actual clasp. The needle that it was on the right then is going to go to the left, and I'm going to pick up the left hand needle and retrace that same thing going from the left towards the right. So the whole piece here is going to have 2 threads going through it. Once I make sure that I'm going through the chaton correctly, I'll go through the Eva, pull the thread out. And at this point too, you want to make sure that you have equal amounts of thread on both sides. So you can see that first little crystal is getting ready to set in there. Some nice fall colors. On the exterior here, I want you to add 6 of your 15s with 1 11 in the middle. So you're going to pick up 3 15s, 1 11, 3 15s, and then the needle that's on the right is going to sew to the left, going through the Eva second hole, going through the top hole of that chaton, and then through the Eva to the left. Pull that nice and tight. And that's going to put all of those seed beads on the exterior edge there. The crystal will sit up just a tiny little bit towards the top. And I'm going to repeat the same thing with the left-hand side. Once the same thing is done on the left then, we get ready to kind of get to connect these items and get from one of our setting to our next setting. So I have my 7 beads on, my 3 15s, 1 11, 3 15s, and then I'm going to take the needle on the left, repeat the same step going towards the right, making sure as you go through that you're going through the correct hole of the Monty bead or of the chaton, and out, and then out through the Eva. When you come out the Eva, you want to make sure that you are not going through any seed beads. And as you do that here, give a nice little tight pull. That's going to tighten up the thread. Pop that crystal right up to the top and finish off with your first little component piece. This also component could be used as a pair of earrings, and you could actually make a V and go in and create a little bit of an earring as well to the design. We're going to, however, use some round duo minis in order to connect to get to our next little crystal segment. When you're exiting through the EVA bead, after each time of completing a segment, you're going to pick up an 11 round duo mini 11 on both the right side and the left side. From there, you're going to pick up your next set of your EVA beads as well as your next crystal. You want to make sure as you add your next set that when going through, the crystal is going to sit up and that the crystals are going to be facing in the same direction the whole bracelet, because you don't want the crystals sitting down one and then up on the other. So I've gone through here on the right needle going towards the left, and then I'm going to repeat with the left going through here towards the right. Once you have that next component on, and again simply after putting an 11 round duo 11, that's going to link these two components. And once you have them linked, I'm just going to, on the exterior then, go ahead in and add in my seed beads here. And my thread just wants to get twisted there. There we go. So there I have my next component ready to go. You're going to repeat adding in 3, 1, 3 of your 11 and 15s. Cross then through the second hole of the EVA bead as well as the second hole of the crystal, and repeat over and over until you have your desired length. So at the end, I've put on 11 of my groupings here for my little pillars of the Athens bracelet. Looking at the EVA beads, then you're obviously going to need double that. So I have on 11 and then 22. This is going to get you about a 7-inch wrist. If you need it to be a little bit bigger, go ahead and stick on that 12th one of your chaton bezels, and that will use that full pack, and then 24 of the EVA beads. Coming out the end here, I'm going to repeat what I did at the beginning, adding on 3 of my 11-Os, 1 15-O, adding on the wire guard, and right now I'm using the left needle, but it doesn't matter which one you use first. Go down through the other side of the wire guard. Go ahead then and put on your clasp through that thread and needle onto the wire guard. And then on the other side here, 1 15, then 3 11s. And I'm going to sew in through here, in through that last of my EVA beads, basically rounding everything out and getting that clasp in. Go ahead and take your thread and needle that's in your hand through that center chaton, and then from there out to the outer edge of the EVA bead, and just have it sit there and wait for the other one to get to the other side. To get to the other side, again, we're going to reinforce. Go in with the needle now on the opposite side, on the right-hand side. Go through the 3 seed beads, the 15, down through the wire guard and through the clasp. And then as I come down through the wire guard on the other side, I'm going to repeat what I just did with the left needle, which is going to bring this needle back to that right-hand side. Go ahead and make sure your thread stays in that little channel. Down through and reinforcing on the edge. And if I had a button or a loop or a lobster clasp, I would be doing the same exact thing here, adding it on as we go. That's the advantage of having 2 needles that you're working with at one time. I know that for many of you, you do not like this. You do not like 2 needle projects. They're a little bit harder to hold. When I did create the prototype of this Athens bracelet, I did use just 1 needle. So you can use just 1 needle, but it's easier to teach and to show people what is happening without having to go back and forth and down the project multiple times. So generally speaking, when I use 2 needles, it is because it's easier to follow and to understand. But most times that you're using 2 needles, you can do the same project using just 1. Here now I'm ready to come down the sides, adding in the extra seed beads along the edges and catching on to the second hole of that round duo mini. So at this point, we're done with the EVAs and the crystals and the round duos. So we're done with our specialty beads, and we're just using our seed beads to catch in here the 11s and the 15s. I've gone down the right side here a tiny bit, and I'll show you down the left. It's going to be a repeating process. To get in place to start adding the seed beads and connecting to your actually round duo second hole, you're going to go up through the seed beads along the edge here. So I'm going through the 15s, through the 11, and down through 2 of the 15s after the 11-0 seed bead. You're always going to be going down through those 2 15s on either side of the 11. Grab an 11-0 seed bead, sew into that round duo mini second hole. And as you sew into the second hole of that round duo mini, it's going to give you an opportunity to kind of decorate the outside of that round duo mini. If you don't want to and you want to keep it open, you can do so. Add another 11 and continue on. If you want to have it a little bit decorated there on the edge, you're going to grab 4 of your 15s, take your thread and needle back through that same hole of the round duo mini, going from the toggle bar towards the beginning of the bracelet. Add in 11, and again, if you don't want the decoration on the side, keep that off. After you come out the round duo, add the 11, go up through the 2 15s closest to the 11, so you're skipping the first 15. Remember we put on 7 seed beads on the sides of the Ava bead, and we're going to be going up through the 2 before the 11, and then we're going to come down the 2, go through the 11, and then we're going to come down through the 2 after the 11 as well. When you come out that section there of those 3 15s, add an 11, go through your round duo mini, repeat adding in those 4 seed beads along the outer edge if you want, just to decorate the outside there. After you have the 4 15s, go back through that same round duo mini from the outer edge here. And then again, once you're through that round duo mini, grab an 11, pick up the 2 15s prior to the 11, and then the 2 15s after the 11, and continue on. So you're just going to continue building, then adding through and catching on to this second hole of the round duo mini while decorating along that outer edge, adding the 15s along the side, and then going through the middle 5 beads that are on the sides of the Ava beads to connect to the next bead and connect to that next pillar of the Athens bracelet. To finish the end of the Athens bracelet, on the right hand side here, I'm through adding my last decoration along the side of my round duo mini. Going through the 11-0, then I'm going to go through all the seed beads along the edge leading up to the clasp. This is with the right thread that I'm then going to go through and reinforce my clasp, adding the thread through the wire guard, sewing through the clasp, down the other side of the wire guard, making sure that thread sits nicely in that channel, through all of the seed beads here along the edge on the left hand side. And what I did was left the thread and the needle over here on the left, so that way my needle and thread is not being tied off right at the very end. I'm going to come out through the 2 11s, or the 2 15s rather, just like I was getting ready to continue my design. Add an 11, which is missing right there from my round duo mini, and then literally tie off the 2 thread ends. Again, this is nice because it'll put the thread ends right not at the very end of the bracelet. I have 1 needle and thread still on, and with the other I've taken it off. It actually slipped off the end, but taking it off the end, I'm going to keep 1 needle on, making sure that I have that nice kind of thread knotted in there. And I'm going to do a square knot right over left and then left over right. And then what I'm going to do, since this thread and needle is on here, I'm going to take that and go through the round duo, go through the 11-0, and that's going to bring my thread ends so they're ending in separate places. When I go in and burn off, then I don't have a big section where they're touching one another. I'm going to go ahead in, burn off the ends of my thread, and then my Athens bracelet is completed, and I have my nice kind of crystal pillars here ready to go. The only thing, again, that I have to do is burn down those thread ends. If you are somebody that glues, you can go ahead and glue that knot. You want to glue that knot prior to burning down the thread ends, obviously, because generally speaking, when you pull the thread and you separate it from the actual knot, pulling it through the design in the bracelet, you actually are going to sometimes pull that knot back inside of a bead. But at this point then, depending on how decorated you want to go, you can go one more time around. Your bracelet for your Athens design is going to be finished. I'm just going to grab my toggle bar there, get my bracelet on, and I have my beautiful bracelet done with those beautiful bezeled chatons. Thanks so much for watching the Athens bracelet. Again, just to let you know, if you need any of the materials, they're listed at the beginning. The colors that I used in this bracelet were the pastel Bordeaux and the Eva bead, and you're going to use approximately 22 to 24 of them. The chatons are in a chili, and they're the bezeled chatons. You're going to need to make sure you have those bezels in order to create the bracelet. Again, we're using 11 to 12 of those, again in the chili color. If you want to join in the same colors of the 11s and the 15, I use Miyuki brand in both, with the 11Os being the Duracoat Opaque Cactus and the 15s being the light bronze. In addition to that, we have some round duo minis in that nice ancient gold color, which throws a little bit of a mix in there, along with a toggle clasp and 2 wire guards. Gather your materials again with the links below the video, which lists the materials out as well. You can also go back to the beginning of the video and see that list for the actual materials. Keep in mind, you can always subscribe to this YouTube channel to get regular updates from us here at Potomac Beads. As well, comment below and let us know exactly which colors you're going to use to make your Athens bracelet, how you might switch up the design, and any questions that you may have for me as the designer of the bracelet. Thanks so much for watching the Athens bracelet, and enjoy playing with the Evas and the new bezel set chatons.